You are listening to This is Oklahoma, hosted by Mike Hearn, telling stories of Oklahomans and those that have made it their home.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma Podcast. Mike Hearn here, your host, back with another episode. Excited to share this episode with you today, but before we do, I've got to thank our sponsors. First of all, the Oklahoma Hall of Fame. They've been a huge part of this podcast for the last few years. So the Oklahoma Hall of Fame have been sharing Oklahoma's story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com. And for daily updates, go to oklahomahof on Instagram and give them a follow. Our other sponsor today is Chickasaw Nation. Now, the Chickasaw Nation have sponsored pretty much everything in Oklahoma. They're a huge supporter of Oklahoma, and it's an honor to have their name and their brand supporting this podcast. A huge shout out to Governor Anatobi for supporting this podcast. It really means a lot. Our third sponsor is Diffie Ford Lincoln down in El Reno. Now, this one makes me so happy because these guys are great friends of mine, play a lot of golf together. I've bought my cars from them, do most of my oil changes down there, have a cup of coffee, hang out down in El Reno. It's a good spot to go. And not only are they great friends, but they provide a great service. So for over 60 years, third generation family owned Oklahoma business down in El Reno. They're also in Bethany as well. So people in the Bethany area know the Diffies really well. But if you're looking for anything new, used, Ford, Lincoln, or whatever, I'm sure they could find anything you want. Check them out, diffieford.net, and then on Instagram at diffiefordlincoln. This episode is presented by Citizens Bank of Edmond. Citizens Bank of Edmond has been serving Edmond since 1901. They pride themselves on investing in the community and are here for all your personal and business banking needs. For more information, go to mycitizens.bank and follow them on Instagram at citizensedmond, as well as go bank there, because I bank there too. It's been a fantastic personal experience for me. I've had my podcast account there now, my podcast business account there now for 4 years now, I think, and it's been fantastic. So definitely worth your time. They're a great group of people, and they're always there to answer the phone when I forget my password, because I seem to forget it daily. So yeah, go to Citizens Edmond and check them out. It's been awesome. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma. Mike Hearn here, host, back with another episode. Happy New Year. You're probably thinking of being healthy and on a health kick because it's January and not drinking, maybe. Whether you're doing dry January. Well, we're going to convince you not to. My guest today is Nguyen, who has a blog, Instagram page, whatever you want to call it. It's very good. You should follow if you don't already. It's called Take a Bite OK. You should scroll it right now because it'll make you hungry, and it'll point out all the wonderful local places in our city to go and spend your money and support. So, like I said, you might be doing dry January. I support that, but I also support local businesses and restaurants too, and it's food for the soul and it's good for your mind and body. So excited to dive into this episode today and find out a lot more about local businesses, especially restaurants and bars, because my guest knows exactly that and has her ear to the ground on all of that stuff a lot more than I do. So Fee, it's a pleasure to have you on the podcast.
Thanks, Mike. I'm happy to be here.
Ready to dive in. What has been, I guess, recently, I think Sandoichi was in town, obviously. Haven't been, didn't go. I went last year. What was their, is it the same stuff as last year? They had some epic, I know they did the steak that was a special last year.
This time is a little bit different. Okay. So talking to Keith at Sandoichi, they decided to kind of mix things up. This is the first time the core team didn't come here. So they were working with other teammates and trying this pop-up concept where they had dishes local and exclusive to Oklahoma City. So they had the OKC, this hot link that was wrapped in bacon with avocado on like a toasted buttery bun. They had a grilled kimchi sandwich. So great dishes, so a little bit different. And they didn't do their $85 Wagyu sandwich, which I am a sucker for and have purchased every single time.
It was so good.
They said they hold that one a little bit closer, and with the management team not staying for the entire 3-week run, they didn't have it. I love how they partner. This was their 4th time, how they partner with different business owners and concepts, bounce around different parts of the city. So to set up shop at Bungalow 23 was really cool.
Yeah, they're that Wagyu was just so good. And it came in like a wooden box too. It wasn't just like you're spending $85 on a sandwich. The whole presentation was amazing, and it was like truffled stuff. It was like
with the
truffles.
certificate of authenticity.
That's right. Yeah. Oh, so good. I told people listening, we're 2 minutes in. I told you you're going to be hungry already. Yeah, that was super awesome. I want to dive into a lot more food, and we will, and I'm glad you brought notes because that just makes my podcasting brain smile. Before we do, though, tell me a little bit about you. What's your kind of Oklahoma story?
So my story, I'm a Oklahoman born and bred, first generation born here in the U.S. My parents met in college at OU after immigrating here from Vietnam in the late 70s. My mom was the eldest of 7. She came over when she was 16 years old. They worked a lot. My mom worked 2 restaurant jobs and then the graveyard shift at a grocery store. My dad, after finishing college, was an engineer at Tinker. So my grandma raised me, and my grandma came over, never got her driver's license, speaks a decent amount of English, but her whole reason for being here was creating this life that they couldn't have in Vietnam for the rest of us. So I spent a lot of time with her, and food was always something that was really, really important to us growing up, whether it was meals that you cook together, passing on family recipes, which in the past decade we've realized the importance of getting her recipes documented because they all live in her brain or in various renditions in our brains. Just had that kind of upbringing, grew up in Oklahoma City, public schools, went to OU, was that super smart overachiever type A person because my family ingrained in me that education is everything. Went to college, didn't really have the discipline to know how to study, ended up dropping out in my sophomore year, and spent about 4 years doing my own thing, dyed my hair blonde, learned how much bills cost because my parents had paid everything. I didn't know you had to pay a deposit to turn on utilities. Had a lot of fun. Went to Sky Bar in Bricktown all the time. And then reeled it back in, got back on track, got my finance accounting degree, started in public accounting, and that's kind of where my love for downtown started. So I started working in public accounting for a local firm in 2010, and I have been in downtown since then professionally.
Yeah. It's no surprise to me when you say education was everything for your family because it's a very immigrant mentality, right? Everyone I've had on the podcast that parents either came here or grandparents came here, and even for me, it's a little different for me because the UK is kind of similar, Western type world to the States, but still education was always preached to me as well. And then you come to the States and it's like education is the avenue to whatever success looks like compared to where, growing up in Vietnam, right? And yeah, it's no surprise that they pushed that on you. So I can't imagine how they felt when you dropped out.
Well, I think probably the first disappointment was when I decided to pick business as my degree.
instead of the cliche engineer, doctor, and or lawyer.
I came from a family of engineers and pharmacists. Yeah. So my baby sister's in her 4th year at OU Med, and she will be the first doctor in the family. And she was already the favorite. I feel like this only secures her position even more. But when I picked business, the look of disappointment on my parents' face, I still kind of remember that. But to be honest, in hindsight, accounting was one of the best decisions I've ever made. Just as far as work, you always need accountants. It's a good foundation. And I'm no longer in the accounting bubble, but having that experience and expertise is critical. Yeah,
I think of all the things in business that you could go into, I went the marketing route, but finance is like it's the top, right? It's like when you look, I don't have any statistics on this, but I know plenty of accountants and they do very, very well. So, financially, that's probably as close as you can get to a doctor or an engineer or what the success that your parents hoped that you'd get, right?
Yeah, I hope they feel that way now.
I'm sure seeing what you've done now, I'm sure they do, right? And you're, like you said, you've been downtown professionally for, since that moment, and just kind of, even though we don't have a large downtown in the grand scheme of things compared to other cities in the country, like, we have a really cool downtown.
Our downtown is amazing.
Yeah.
I fell in love with it because I was working down there. You know, growing up, I was born in 1984. Oklahoma City has grown a ton since then. In downtown specifically, it wasn't a place you wanted to hang out. And just looking back at the development and even looking back to New Year's, what opportunities and what options did you have for New Year's then versus now? Different restaurants to eat at, different bars and clubs to go to. So, yeah, I would say my love story with downtown Oklahoma City started when I started working there professionally 14 years ago.
Yeah. So when that comes around, then obviously you go through that phase of you drop out of school, you have your, I guess, identity phase, right? You go, you're like, I need to find out who I am now. I need to figure out like what the adult world is like. I have to pay bills, all that stuff.
I didn't realize how privileged and sheltered I was until I had to do it myself. And it wasn't that easy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not. It's a wake-up call, right?
It is.
It's just like, wait a second, I have to pay to turn my bill, to turn my electric on? Why? I just want to pay monthly.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it's not cheap to do that either. My day job is in the real estate world, and I remind people, like, you have to pay, quite relatively speaking, more money than you think you should to have your bills just turned on, or your electric and gas and all the rest of it turned on. Anyway. So, how does you get into account? Where'd you go back to school to get do you go back to OU?
Yep.
Okay.
Went back to OU.
Go back to OU, you do that, and then from there you go into accounting at downtown Oklahoma City straight away?
No, I went into public accounting.
Okay.
Trust me, in round 2 of college, I did it right.
Yeah.
I showed up, I studied just enough, I did my work. I built relationships with the professors and the instructors, and that was something I didn't understand. That was like the street smarts I gained, was everything is so relationship driven, right? And the more somebody likes you, the more they help you. And so I came back and graduated from OU. You always hear this thing, it's C's gets degrees, but it doesn't get you an accounting degree. You have to have a 3.0, and I graduated with 3.01.
Nice.
Skin of my teeth.
Yeah.
So, I did it just enough to check the box and move forward. Wanted to go into public accounting because it seemed it had the most opportunities to move somewhere else and for relocation. And for the longest time, I never thought Oklahoma would be where I would stay, and Oklahoma would remain my home. Yeah. So I was always planning for the future and to leave. So public accounting made sense, and my GPA wasn't high enough to go to one of the big fours, so I went local, and it landed me in downtown.
So at this time, you're mid-20s roughly. When you finish, you start a new job downtown.
I was 26.
Okay.
Which is a little late.
Yeah.
To the party.
But I think you're right. When most people I know have gone back to school to either graduate or to do a different degree, they always better the second time because they just have a lot more world experience. And they're like, I've got a second chance at this. Now I can give it everything I have. They don't have the let's go out for drinks, or your friends are like the same age as you and they're doing other stuff. No, it's like we're here to learn, and you can still enjoy yourself.
Yes, there were drinks. I think ultimately it felt really different because I was paying for it myself.
Yes, there it is.
The school loans were in my were in my name. I paid for the books, and so I mean I hate to say I had to learn it that way, but understanding the value of a dollar and how hard people work and sacrifice, so you have opportunities. It felt certainly different the second time around. So I ended up in public accounting, and I loved it. It was so, you won't believe me when I say it was really interesting and exciting, but it was, because what I did was auditing, and it allowed me to learn more about these businesses that I've seen growing up, their billboards or their buildings or their HQs or wherever, and you basically get to come in and learn their inner workings, and I loved it, and it was great. But the tipping point for me was I was a little disenfranchised. By this time, I was like, I'm gonna get my degree, get my career started, and I'm gonna bounce out of here. And then something happened when I was at my local public accounting firm. They were really into community involvement, and they really encouraged that, and they built budgets for that and set expectations and encouraged us all to be involved. And that's when I got involved with Leadership Oklahoma City. So at 27 years old, I was in the Loyal program, Linking Oklahoma's Young Adult Leaders, Class 8, which is a decade ago now. And I did that, and the very first day we had an icebreaker, and you were sitting around a table, and they said, share something if you're comfortable with the table that you haven't, maybe a whole lot of people don't know about you. And I said, hey, I'm Fee. I work for this local accounting firm, and a year from now, I won't be living here anymore. And those are my famous last words, because I'm definitely only gonna live here. But that was where I was when I started that program, and I was a completely changed person after the next 7 months because of the people I met, finding people whose values aligned with mine, finding people who cared about where they lived and what the legacy they want to leave behind for their kids and for their friends and family and everything. So, and that is how I got my job at Downtown OKC Partnership, because my predecessor, the former director of finance, was in my class.
It's my class, I think, was 16 for Loyal. Mm-hmm. It was the COVID class. And that's a perfect example too, but there's so many others, and people listening will understand this as well. Everyone in Oklahoma City who, especially kind of in that leadership circle, it doesn't have to be Leadership Oklahoma City, but whether it's kind of a board that you're on, I mean, we've got a Young Professionals board at the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, Second Century board, like there's a lot of us and a lot of opportunities to do that. But when you're around those people, community engagement and just amount of people who just, like you said, they want to leave something behind that's bigger than themselves, it's kind of like, it's intoxicating, mm-hmm. right? Like, and you know, like you said, I'm not going to be here in a year. And everyone says that. Like I had Chef Andrew Black on the podcast, and he said the same thing, you know? And like someone told him, like, you'll still be here. Like someone called him out on it, and he was like, yeah, whatever, I'm gonna be out of here in 2 years. You know, it's and the same for me. I came to college, and I remember my first 2 years of college being like, there's no way I'm staying here. Mm-hmm. You know, and then next year it'll be like 13 years. It's just something about the young professional scene and just the professional scene that's fostered in Oklahoma City that it's hard to explain. You can't put your finger on just one thing. It's just a collective love for giving back in a way that's not like, okay, we're just going to give our time and we're going to serve and we're going to go to the regional food bank and just fill boxes or hand out blankets to people. It's a lot more than that, isn't it? It's like in your field as an accountant, you can do stuff to give back, or with a podcast. I mean, whatever it is, it's just this kind of collective community love for, we want to do something that's bigger than ourselves. And people listening, I'm sure that you've got your own examples, but if you don't, tap into Loyal or a local kind of board that you can get into. There's like 25 at least, mm-hmm. right? Like everyone's got a Young Professionals board. Serve
on a committee, go volunteer, just get out there and mm-hmm. expose yourself to a part of the community that you haven't been a part of, and you might just find that it's a perfect fit for you. Yeah. And for me, I was really lucky because that was what reignited. I always loved Oklahoma, but I loved it kind of in the rear view, mm-hmm. thinking that it was my past and not my future. Yeah. So meeting everyone in Leadership Oklahoma City, and I'm still involved with them today. I now serve on their board of directors. It changed my life, and that network is unreal. So would recommend anyone be involved.
And you're right with like the way that you were feeling too. It's like a lot of people graduate university and they're ready to leave, right? And a lot of people do leave, and most of them come back, right? They come back to have kids, or they come back to do something, or a job, or whatever it is. But everyone kind of does have that mentality of, I'm going to go to Dallas, or I'm going to leave, or I'm going to go to the, whatever kind of the coastline. Where at that time, did you know where you wanted to go before you kind of started Loyal?
No,
I just wanted to get out.
I just knew I just wanted to get out, and I thought I was kind of checking boxes. Mm-hmm. Let me get into my 2 years at this public accounting firm, get my experience, so that I can transfer out. But I loved how involved they were. They had annual volunteer days and everything. And when they said, get involved with the community, we want to pay for it, we want to support you with our dollars and allow you the time, I took advantage of that. And I just would have never known that would have changed my life.
It's amazing. do you say 14 years ago you started with downtown Oklahoma City?
14 years ago, I started working at the public accounting firm in downtown.
Gotcha. So you've been downtown for 14 years and 10 years with...
I hit 8 years in 2 months at Downtown Oklahoma City Partnership. So yes, my predecessor was the director of finance. Yeah. He ended up leaving to go back into banking. And he texted me one day and said, "Are you looking for a change?" And I said, "No, not really, but we can talk about it." So we went and had coffee at Clarity. I'm repping Clarity with my Clarity hat. Yeah. And he said, "So I'm leaving. I think this would be a good opportunity for you. You want to try it out?" And I had a job offer within 3 days. So I left public accounting and moved into my first ever nonprofit role. And I've been there now for coming on 8 years. I started as the director of finance, and my role has evolved over the years. And this past year, I was advanced to chief operating officer. So I finally got out of the accounting bubble. Yeah. It's hard. Once you're in the accounting finance bubble, they want to keep you in there because somebody has to be in there. Right.
So when you started almost 8 years ago, what was the kind of, I don't mean this in a bad way, but what was the state of downtown Oklahoma City at that point when you stepped in to your first nonprofit?
Honestly, the state of downtown at that point, the whole reason why I chose to go work at Downtown OKC Partnership was because it was so cool. And I only knew it from the consumer or user perspective. Right? I mean, I still lived like 15 minutes outside of downtown. I didn't live in the urban core. So I was a daytime user because I was employed there, and then I was an evening and weekend user, like recreationally. So I just enjoyed all the amenities without understanding how it worked or all the moving pieces. So when I started working at Downtown OKC, it truly was eye-opening. I thought our organization just threw fun parties and events because those are the things I attended. I didn't realize we did critical services such as street vacuuming and emptying trash cans and managing over 1,000 trees. And I would have never thought as my role progressed there that I would be overseeing the team that takes care of that either. Yeah. The unsexy stuff that you don't think of.
Yeah, the last thing I expected you to say today was that you take care of 1,000 trees and vacuuming roads and stuff.
Yeah, I know more about irrigation than I ever thought I would. When I travel now to different cities and different places of the country and the world, I am that nerd that if I see a beautiful planter, I take a photo of it, but then I also dig my hands at it to see if it's irrigated, because who waters this, Yeah.
We got to figure
things like that. Good bike racks
too, right?
I take pictures of those, or street trees. I don't know.
Stuff that you never would have been thinking of if you're in a cubicle at a public accounting firm.
No,
right?
Not at all. Yeah. Not at all. So it's opened my eyes to a lot of things. But the biggest part is I think Downtown OKC Partnership is such a good fit for me right now because it aligns about the things that I care about outside of work. And outside of work, I care about building a sense of community. I care about making the table bigger so more voices are heard. And I care about keeping up the momentum and investing in our city for people in the future, whether that's ourselves or kids or all the people that move here, because we get a ton of people who choose to live here when they don't have to.
Yeah, it's slowly people are figuring that out, right? As much as some people here don't want them to, keep it to ourselves.
That's not my mentality.
Yeah, it's not mine either.
The more the merrier.
Yeah, and it drives, it all kind of helps itself out, right? It's all just kind of a big circle. More people come in, they spend more money, we have more businesses, people expand, blah, 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 blah. Tell me about then your Take a Bite OK. When does that start?
That started about 8 or 9 years ago. Food has always been a big thing for me. I love eating, going out to eat, supporting restaurants. But so in my past life, before public accounting and how I paid my bills, and from 16 to 26, I was in the hospitality and restaurant industry. From my first job hostessing at Chili's to my final job, a 5-year stint at Cheesecake Factory. I opened the Cheesecake Factory, was part of the opening team, and stayed there. I actually stayed there for 3 months where it crossovered into public accounting life because I didn't want to leave the money. Yeah. So I was working 40 to 55 hours public accounting, and the waiting table still on the weekends. So food has always been a huge part of my life, and for a while it was my livelihood. I was grinding away as a server, as a bartender, doing all of that. So when I transitioned over and got my, started public accounting and all of this, I still have a lot of friends in the industry, and I still know a ton of people actually from those days. It's actually wild to think about. And in my group of friends, I'm the organizer, I'm the convener. So I'm the one planning, where are we eating next, and let's try this new restaurant. So we decided to start a little supper club, and it was called the Take a Bite Supper Club. And with that, jumped on the Instagram handle and started posting pictures. And boy, I think I went back and cleaned it up, but the photos from before, you don't want to scroll back that far. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I cleaned it up. They were so grainy and gross and awful, but it was a thing. Taking pictures of your food wasn't always a thing.
It's also very hard to do, right?
Yeah.
Well,
you got to get good angles, and then it's all about the lighting. So I was taking pictures of food and posting about it, and that's kind of where that came from, documenting food pictures and doing the supper club with friends where we would try different restaurants. And then I started a Facebook group that had like 100 friends in it, and then people could add other people, and I've made friendships through that too. Two of my friends, Sandy and Dane, I met them when I decided to do a Taste of Korea Take a Bite event, and somebody invited them to come, and that person ended up no-showing, and we ended up hanging out in the parking lot and talking to each other. And now, that was probably like 5 years ago. Now we're super great friends, and it was all because they decided to come and eat Korean food with people they didn't know.
Yeah, it's amazing what food does.
Food it crosses through so many barriers, because you can sit there and just enjoy tasting something and sharing your experience of how you enjoy that. And that, I think, I was thinking about it prior to coming here. I have like super romantic feelings about dining, and I love the details. So I like how food is plated. I like the whole experience from when you walk in to how service is, being seated and getting to look at the menu and how the menu is set up. And I love when you have a server or a bartender that knows hospitality so well, they can help curate and kind of walk you through the experience.
Yeah. Not a huge fan of QR codes then? You want a physical menu in front of you?
I do want a physical menu. And sometimes you ask, they have them.
Yeah,
they'll still bring you one.
Yeah, the QR code thing drives me nuts. I understand it for COVID or whatever it was, and it saves people paper and blah, blah, blah.
Who would have thought QR codes would have made a comeback?
I know.
That is crazy. Right? I know.
Just anyway. How does family then, Vietnamese family culture around dining translate to difference in dining out here?
So we grew up in my family is Vietnamese, my grandma is Chinese. Okay. So we had a hybrid, and a lot of the restaurants that you see even in the Asian district are a hybrid of Vietnamese and Chinese menus. Yeah. But it's all family style, and it's all about sharing. Mm-hmm. And it's all about also not eating because you're hungry, but eating as an experience to be social. So even as a kid, I hated going out to eat because sometimes those dinners will last 2.5, 3 hours. And it's only in an Asian restaurant that it's kind of acceptable that your kids run wild or sit in the corner with books and games and stuff, because the adults are hanging out and eating. So I think my love for food and dining stemmed there. And in our family, we were growing up super working class. Food was always plentiful because that was a priority, to make sure that we were all nourished and we could share meals together. And my grandma stayed at home and cooked meals. And even as all of my aunts and uncles grew up, we still get together, would still get together at her house, to eat meals together. Like this year, they're coming in from Dallas and California. They came for Thanksgiving and for Christmas Eve, and my grandma's 85 years old now. So doing Christmas with her, and it's all about food, what's on the menu.
Yeah.
And I've now we feel very comfortable that our holiday meals are very non-traditional. So for Thanksgiving, we had, it's like a savory Vietnamese beef stew, lemongrass beef stew, bò kho. And that was really nice, and a bunch of pot stickers and things like that. So after going to, traditional Thanksgiving, it's such a nice contrast.
Yeah. Well,
good palate cleanser.
And it's also yes, it's about the food, but it's not, right? It's about getting everyone together and just spending, because we're so fast paced now, right? And you're right, restaurants want to kind of just in and out, turn you around, get you in, get your food to you, and it's all about kind of that. Keeping that, and I understand that to a certain extent too, right? They've got to make money, and the more people they get in and out of the restaurant, the more money they're going to make. But yeah, just to have that experience. I had dinner at I forget the guy's name. It's on Western, private dining, 12-ish people to a table. Oh, what's the place called? Something Room. Has a pineapple logo.
Tasting room?
Yeah, no. Oh, it's right next to
Sushi Nico?
No, it's
what am I?
Anyway, I can cut this out.
Crown?
Yes, Crown.
Yeah.
Yes.
Crown Room.
I think it's a pineapple logo. I can't remember the chef's name, but I went there and it was just such a good experience. It was fantastic, and everyone should, and it's not cheap, but everyone, if you go with a group of people, it's definitely worth it. And we went and just sat there around a table, and the whole experience, every course had a song that was matched with it too, and I kind of love classic rock, and most of the songs were classic rock, so I had a great time. And Gabriel Lewis was also helping out, I think, Gabriel, who's been on the podcast, introduced me and connected me with the person who was chefing it. I can't remember his name. It's going to bug me, and once we get done with this podcast, I'll remember it. But it was the first time that I sat down, and first time in a long time I sat down with a good group of friends and just had dinner, and there wasn't a time stamp on it, right? Nobody was like, hey, I got to go home or whatever. It was just, and the drinks were paid with the food, and food is fantastic. And it's just and you're in this kind of, it's kind of like what the room we're in now is. You're in a smaller room, just you and your group of friends.
Feels intimate.
Super intimate. It was awesome. And I just I miss that, right? And that sounds like getting family together, and obviously it's a little different because you're in someone's house, but that we don't do that anymore, right? You always want to go out on a date night, and it's just go to somewhere, you don't just go and sit somewhere for 2 hours and just enjoy life and have, no phones and just be around people, right? And food is a great vehicle for that.
Yeah.
It's different if you're at a bar and you're just getting, 2 hours drinking, but food helps.
Is a good vehicle for that too.
Yeah, exactly. And the conversations probably go a little different. But yeah, there's not a lot of people out here. And I think that's a cultural thing too, right? And I can't wait to go home, and sit around the table with my family and just have dinner. I miss that. And it's not just my culture, it's your culture and a lot of other cultures.
Part of the American culture is always on to the next thing.
Right.
People don't linger here.
It's a great word for it.
And you're just always thinking of what's next. It's part of the grind, I suppose. And that's one of the parts I enjoy about food so much is it's not about what you're eating, but it's about how you're eating it and who you're eating it with. And that's the fun part. And I would say one thing that I have observed is probably in the last decade, Oklahoma City has become a place where people love food and enjoy food, as opposed to back then. I feel when I was growing up, it was just a means to an end. You wanted the biggest value. You wanted something easy, something convenient. You wanted something affordable, but now people truly appreciate the thoughtfulness that the talented folks we have in Oklahoma City put into developing menus or dining spaces or experiences. And I think we talked about Nguyen a second ago, but as simple as having walk-up service or drive-through service at Boombox, but then being able to have that same sense of appreciation for a sit-down tasting menu paired with wine or cocktails. So that's something we don't lack here now. Yeah. And we're so lucky for it. And I think to that extent, it's just going to be so critical that people realize in order to continue to have these amazing things and opportunities and experiences, and you have to protect it.
Yeah, no, we do. And I think when I spoke to Greg, we talked about Greg earlier too. Greg was on the podcast. It's a lot about educating the people here too. Because you're right, for the last, it's very easy to just go to Chick-fil-A or Qdoba or wherever to just have something quick and easy, or pizza. Something easy, just pick up. And if you've got kids, it's just keep them happy, give them whatever, give them a juice box and off you go. And Greg, I think, put it a great way. Just there's so many places now. It's hard to educate people to take that risk to go to somewhere new, right? Because we like comfort, and especially if you're spending your money, it's sometimes a risk to go spend $50 at a place you've never been to. But it's so worth it. And the great thing now is that it's not just publications that are educating people. You got people like yourself, and there's 10 to 15 food kind of bloggers, if you will, or food influencers that are just doing a great job of educating. And sometimes I don't even think they realize that they're educating people. They're just doing it out of a love, like you started, right? You got a group of friends together who like to get together, who like to try new food. The byproduct of that is that you're posting it everywhere and people get to see that. And it's so much better doing it your way than them Googling, Madeira or whatever and going to see their menu. But if they look at yours, they read your captions. A reminder, please read captions on Instagram because it'll give you all the context you need. And it's so much easier to go to a place when, you see a post from you and it's like, this is what I recommended, this is what I had. And you just explain that, it's fantastic. And the other place that comes to mind too is like Paseo, right? You look at I love that place. I'm not a huge spicy person. I don't like spice much. I'm from the UK. We don't really have taste buds. People know me and know people. Food in the UK will know that that's an inside joke because we don't do seasoning in the UK. But it's so good. And I wish more people went there. Right.
Yeah,
and there's so many other places. Greg mentioned Trompudo's Tacos.
Oh, Trompudo's. Oh, right.
I haven't been there yet, but I need to. And Greg mentioned that place, and he's like, "You have to go. It's unbelievable." And it's through people like you, and I think it's Keeping Up with OKC is another Instagram handle do a great job, and Greg.
They do a great job.
Emily does a great job too. Emily Phillips. There's so many food people now that are just doing a great job of educating people in Oklahoma City for great food spots. Visit OKC have done a great job of it too.
The thing that I appreciate about this, all the folks that you mentioned, but even just the food influencer, the food promoter scene in OKC is most people who are doing it, they're not getting any kind of significant compensation. They're doing it because they love the food in Oklahoma City and they want to share that information with other people. And I think that's so important. Just even broadly in Oklahoma, I've been thinking about it a lot. And one thing that I always try not to do is I don't want to be a gatekeeper to any information. Sometimes if I find something amazing, I'm going to tell all my friends, tell my family, and I want to post about it because I want other people to try it too. And I think that's something that we could have a little more of in Oklahoma City is some intention behind sharing your resources and access to information. Because I have a lot of friends who have moved here, come here to visit, and they're like, everyone's so nice. And kind of once you're connected, you feel that sense of community in such an overwhelmingly amazing way. But if you don't feel connected, it should be easier to get in. Yeah. And so with Take a Bite, with my Instagram and Facebook, I just want to share that information. And to be frank, I love taking pictures of my friends eating. So I think that's one of the things is that differentiates my account and how I document our food adventures. It's very people driven.
Yeah, and I absolutely love that. I think I saw the photo, and I envy your photography skills as well. So you're very good at it, and it's natural. And I saw the photo. You and Valona had lunch the other day.
Yeah,
and I saw that photo, and I was like,
at Boombox.
Yeah, and for someone who's like myself, who's kind of in the social media world, everything is in that photo. Right? The food's in that photo. The coffee's in that photo from Lee's, which I had one today, and it's amazing. Obviously, Valona, who's a great friend, is in the photo. It's not just look at my food, right? The other photo is look at my food. But I think I remember one of my favorite photos that you've ever posted was the Dave's hot chicken photo. I saw that and I was like, this is what and that's me nerding out about social media and food photography as well. But like, it captured me. So I was scrolling down, and I've eaten the Dave's, and like I said, I don't like hot, spicy food, but I will eat their mild.
Their mild's good.
Yeah,
it's not
and
too
like,
hot.
I was just like, why can't I take? That's the reason you posting that photo is the reason I repost photos and don't try and take photos myself.
That's so funny.
But no, the people thing is you hit it right. It's so many people out there just post photos of their food, right? But you, like you said, you share the experiences with all your friends, and it makes, when someone scrolls that Instagram feed, your Instagram feed, they see people having a great time, and that it's not just, hey, look at this food. It's look at the friend I'm connecting with. And also, if I'm a friend of yours and you're taking a photo of me with food, like, and it's a great photo, they appreciate that too.
Oh, they
right?
love it. We joke I should make a coffee table book.
Oh, 100%.
Of my
done
friends.
Yes.
Like, my boyfriend is perfectly trained to hold a burger up like this. They all know not to touch any of the food until I give them the green light. Like, everyone has been perfecting their cheese pull.
Yeah.
But it's fun. It's fun to share your experiences with other people. And then it's really allowed me an avenue to meet new people. I get requests almost every single week for some kind of recommendation. I'm happy to provide that.
Yeah. Do you have like a rolling list or anything that you like? Because I think 4 or 5 magazine posted something, maybe it was a year ago, 2 years ago, it's probably out of date now, but it was like top 100 places to eat in Oklahoma City. And I consistently refer that to people because it's just an easy thing to do, right?
Yeah, for sure. That's tough. That's the question I've been getting all the time, and I had to organize my thoughts. My top 2 list has been the same for the past 6 months, and it's Mod Air and Edgecraft Barbecue.
I've done Edgecraft. I haven't been to Mod Air yet. I need
You
to.
haven't done Mod Air yet?
No, I'm kind of on a health
goodness.
kick at the moment, which finishes soon.
Mod Air is probably healthier than most of the things
Okay.
that you would
But I
otherwise
also want
be
to
eating.
indulge too.
Yeah, no, you do. You
Yeah.
should go with at least 3 other people so you can order everything.
I need to do that. Yeah.
And it's great.
Yeah.
So their
And-
food is so craveable. And I think
Chef Jeff?
Yeah, Chef Jeff.
Jeff, right? He needs to
Yeah.
go on the podcast.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
And it's so savory and funky and fresh and herbaceous and all those pretentious food words, but it's all of it. It's so good.
Yeah. Oh, and I think also the other thing about people who like they don't want to kind of step out a little bit and try somewhere new is because of what you just said too. Is some places they might not, they may think, even though it's not like that, they may think it's pretentious, they may think it's a little bit more upscale, or like people probably don't go to Black Walnut because they think it's kind of like too fancy.
Yeah.
Which you look at the menu and it's, yes,
Yeah,
you can
and they
go,
don't know Black Walnut has one of the best happy hours in town.
You could go spend, you could spend $180 on a tomahawk that you share for 2 people with a giant bowl of mac and cheese, and it's worth every single dollar. Or you can go and have a hamburger that's fantastic too for $20, right? Like, but people might see that, and there's other examples of places like that. But I mean, back to your 2, Edgecraft is also just the best.
Edgecraft
Right.
is, and they're so nice there.
Yeah.
And when you meet a barbecue place that also has really good sides, I think that says a lot. We only ever order one side because we got to save the real estate, for the protein, but it is the best
So
brisket.
good.
They've been doing beef cheek lately, and they sometimes do beef cheek tacos. So good. Cuban sandwiches.
Yes, back to what I said at the start of this podcast, people listening that are 40 minutes in are now really craving food, and I'm glad, because they need to go spend it locally. Okay, 2023, what's been your top places or just standout moments for food or drink?
So I have, if I'm going to look back, one of the best dining experiences, the series that are all the pop-ups that Mod Air was able to do this past year in collaboration with other folks. They did a collaboration with Edgecraft, they did a collaboration with Sedalia's, a collaboration with Barkeep. So pay attention to their social media. The next time they do one of their pop-up collabs, you got to go. And as a pro tip, you want to go early. Like literally show up 2 hours early before they open.
I 100% agree. Going anywhere that's amazing early because you'll have a better experience.
But that's been really awesome. Another thing, I have loved to see the success of Boomtown Creamery.
Yes.
I'm a proud member of the Pint of the Month Club. So I'm always on their social media, and you can buy a Pint of the Month club card, and it's a great gift. I gifted one to myself and gifted one to my sister and brother-in-law last year. So we're still using that. Right? But then we go and eat a sampler, and then I take a pint home with me. So it's been really cool to see their success in that, with the location in Uptown and then branching out for a total of 3 locations. Ganache Patisserie in Chisholm Creek is also
great at social too.
So good. Like, such a lovely family that runs it. Everything is made with so much care and precision, and I love their breakfast. It's interesting because there's a really popular breakfast spot right next to them, and I'll walk past that line that's like overflowing onto the sidewalk and come over to Ganache, and you can get right in. It's great service, and you can get like a soft scrambled egg sandwich on a fresh baked croissant. So delicious.
It's just the best.
And the cool thing is, you might not know, but they have a partnership with the Oklahoma City Museum of Art. So Ganache has its pastries and different limited items at the Museum of Art. So you don't have to drive up north. It's right here in the urban core.
God, and they're great. They're awesome. Their story's great. Also not from here, like myself. But yeah, they're a little their cakes are awesome. Go to their social media too, because you'll just end up doom scrolling, watching them put the icing on their cakes.
Oh, everything. For my grandma's birthday one year, we got their carrot cake, and it was gorgeous. And it was February where there was an ice storm, and I was still at work, and I texted them, or we were messaging, and I was like, I can come by, or are you guys closing early though? And they're like, yeah, but 4. And I was like, okay, I can make it before 4. And then he calls me back, and he's like, so we're actually closing earlier than that because the weather is awful. And I was like, well, I'm still stuck downtown. He said, let me just drop it off for you. So this giant cake, he wraps it in a trash bag, puts an extra box of cookies in there, and drops it off at my house. So when I come home, it's like sitting on the front steps. They're so nice.
So nice.
And their stuff is so good.
Well, and that's the level that a small business goes, and how this level of service that a small business goes for one of their customers, because they are clearly, take care of all their customers, but also, the money that you paid for that cake and the time it takes them to come down and drop it off for you, they're not really making much money on that, but they know that they're making money on the return purchase and the return. And you'll, like I said, you remember that forever, right? Someone's going to do that for you, for the cake, for the experience that you're having.
Absolutely.
I love that.
So, I mean, some of my favorite places, it's all relationship driven. Yeah. And I think that's part of the beautiful thing about Oklahoma City is it's small enough that if you have a good meal somewhere, you can get to know the owners of the restaurants or the manager or the chef, and you can build those relationships, and it makes your investment in those ties even stronger. So I think that's, because I'm looking down at my list, and my list, it's not just the food that I like, but it's the people.
People you like.
Like, those are my, Clarity.
Yeah.
Is literally my favorite coffee.
Steve and Jen?
Steve and Chelsea.
Steve and Chelsea.
Yes, and Clarity they are the nicest people, and it feels like home there.
Yeah.
And they just launched really cool new merch, so you should check it out.
Yeah. I've been writing, so since you've been talking, I've been writing down a bunch of different places that like a bunch of different genres of food. And I'd love for you to give me, I'm going to put you on the spot here. I'm going to run through them. I'd love for you to give me like your, maybe top one or two, because for me to ask you the top one might be difficult. So I'm going to start. And if there's any that I've missed, you're welcome to just shout them out. Your favorite pizza spot?
Favorite pizza? Daddo's or Empire?
Hamburgers.
Hamburgers? Whew. I eat burgers far too much. My fancy answer would be New State. Thanks. My super basic answer would be Johnny's Burger.
Yes. I don't like the cheese that they put on Johnny's.
Oh, I love the shredded American. That's my favorite part. So if you don't like it, you can step it out. Or they'll melt it. No, that's my favorite part.
Okay. Chinese food.
Oh, Szechuan Story. But if you're looking for a cheap eats, oh my gosh. I just blanked. Szechuan Story.
Vietnamese food.
Oh, Vietnamese food. Boombox is awesome. And I'm not going to, I don't want to get too controversial, but my favorite pho place is Pho Lin Hua. Okay. And they just opened their 3rd location.
That would have been my next question, so I'm glad you rolled into that. Yeah. Fine dining.
Fine dining.
Yeah.
Like steaks?
Could be wherever.
Okay.
I base fine dining on price point, not food.
Fine dining, I think our go-to is the ranch. That is always the location for our annual treat yourself dinner.
Barbecue,
Edgecraft in the city. Outside of the city, it's Butcher Barbecue Stand. Levi and his crew, the best burnt ends you'll ever eat.
And their beans with bacon and apple in are so good too. Mexican food.
Trompudos tacos is delicious.
Italian.
So I don't eat Italian a whole lot, but I really enjoy Vito's.
Fried chicken. Or chicken places.
That's tricky. All I can think of is Dave's, since that's what we talked about recently.
The only place I've ever had, which I haven't been there in a very long time, so I don't know how good it was, but at the time it was very good, was Drum Room.
Oh, I remember the Drum Room, yeah.
Is it still around?
It's still around, but I haven't been there in forever.
I went there in
Somebody
college.
actually was telling me they went to Aishin's recently.
Yes. Aishin's is still great.
Aishin's is good.
Yeah.
But I was like, why would you go to Aishin's when we have so many options here?
It is a trek, for sure. Coffee shop and bakery. Those two generally go one in the same.
Well, Clarity, hands down, for coffee. But my other two favorites are Elemental, and I really like Willow.
Where's Willow?
Deep Deuce.
Okay.
So
got you.
They're great, locally owned as well. And then pastries, hands down, Ganache. Or the Cruffin from Gilded Acorn.
I still haven't had that place yet. I need to. There's a lot of places. I just need to join your club.
Yeah.
I'm just going to join you.
Gilded Acorn has the best butternut squash soup, too. Okay. And like the perfect photo, if you want a hint, is if you sit on Park Avenue and you have someone take a photo of you where you can see the window and Leadership Square behind you.
There we go.
Yeah, and I can't take credit for that.
You need to just put a little star on the floor.
Julie Parton posted a photo of that first, and I was like, oh, I'm replicating this picture. It's so beautiful.
Thank you, Julie. Love Julie. She's awesome. Let's talk about bars and kind of bartenders as well. Favorite happy hour spot?
I just wrote an article last month for 405 on the top 10 happy hours.
Let's talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah. Even though it's dry January right now, I'm going to give you, Svi's going to give you a top 10.
Oh, yes. Okay. So one of my go-tos is Mickey Mantle's, one of the best happy hours in town because it has food and cocktails. So I think it's like $8 martinis, something very affordable, $2 long necks, $4 wines, give or take $1 because I don't have the information directly in front of me. But they have, it is Monday through Friday from 4 to 7.
4 to 7.
And it's perfect for pre-concert, pre-thunder, right after work. And we go there all the time, and it's great. But they have the best peppered lamb chops, tequila, lime shrimp, and shrimp cocktail as well, all on their happy hour.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm going to go to the far other end of the spectrum. The Oklahoman happy hour that everyone should know about is Hideaway Pizza. Monday through Friday, 4 to 7. It is half price, all alcohol.
Okay. I did not know that.
That cannot be beat. If I even drive, I randomly drove by a Hideaway in Tulsa when I was out of town for a concert, and it just happened to be between 4 and 7. I was like, well, obviously I have to go by. So you just pop right in. That is... Everyone's looking for the cheap drinks. Like, that's where it's at.
Okay. One of the things, talking of bars, is bartenders. Now, we have some pretty impressive bartenders here too that not a lot of people know about unless you're in the food scene. And there's a lot of competition here. And Edible and Downtown OKC and Visit OKC and 405, they do a great job of, just fostering competition in the bartenders that's not like, it's fun.
Have you been to one of the bartender smackdowns?
Yeah, I need to.
They happen on Sundays, I think at the end of the month. Okay. I had the privilege of being a judge for one earlier this year, and it was at Lunar Lounge, and it was wild. So no, you're right. We have so much talent here, from the crew at the Jones Assembly to Arbolada, and I mean all those places. Honestly, we're a little spoiled with the craft cocktail scene here.
Yeah, it's very underrated.
It is.
Right? No one, and that's the kind of same as the food was. Now the food's kind of, people are realizing how good our food is now, slowly. But again, it comes back to educating the people who aren't in the food scene, because you're right. Like, And people might not even know because they've never traveled. That's one of the things I think that Americans generally don't do is travel to other cities. Or yes, they're probably going to go to Dallas, but they won't travel as much as other countries and other kind of cultures travel to see how good it is when you come back. So they just know they're spoiled. They know that standard, right? So yeah, it's and I'm not really a big drinker, but I appreciate the artistry in making craft cocktails. Like it's very, very impressive. You know?
No, I do too. I'm a pretty basic drinker. If I'm drinking to get down, it's vodka soda water. But I love checking out a good cocktail menu and trying. Or we always love sitting at the bar and getting to know the bartender and kind of letting them choose things for you.
Yeah.
There was a category you forgot: seafood.
Oh yeah, great. Where's your favorite seafood?
It's either Sedalia's or Rococo. Chef Bruce is a friend. Rococo on Western.
Yes, great social media too.
He's awesome.
Also, he has definitely got a good voice for the podcast. I need to get him on.
Larger than life. He's fantastic.
Yeah, his kids are involved too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the whole family.
And then Sedalia's, is that new?
Okay. Yes. So it was at the top of everyone's list this last year. Okay. Greg Horton is pretty much their number one fan.
Which says a lot, because sometimes Greg can be very choice with his words, which I love his honesty, but some people don't like his honesty. I do. I think it's great.
Greg's taste in food is, in my opinion, immaculate. Yeah. We agree on every count. And when you talk about resources and sending people, if I don't know where to eat, I scroll through his social media, or I'll be like, Greg, tacos, Greg, Indian food, whatever. And that's what Greg, breakfast sandwich.
We didn't talk about Indian food. Where do you go for Indian food?
Right now, I'm really into Kebabish Bites. It's in Norman.
Okay.
Right off of I-35.
Okay.
Locally in town, we do Shish Mahal.
Same. So good.
It's so good.
It's the one thing. This is the one thing the UK is known for is great Indian food, and it's fantastic. And that's one thing I always look forward to doing when I go home is having a curry, because other than Shish Mahal, I haven't found a place that kind of replicates back home. Mm-hmm. Which is kind of funny to say that the UK is good for Indian food. It just is. Shish Mahal is just.
You should check out, if you go down North Norman, Kebabish Bites.
Okay, I'm gonna write that down. The one thing, you'll find this funny, the one thing last time I went to Shish Mahal was with Valona, and back home, you have what we call curry half and half. Mm-hmm. So you can have half chips, fries, and half rice. And I told this to Valona, and she got so offended, in a nice way, but she got so offended because what I do, if I get it to go, the only place that I believe that you can rely on great fries from is McDonald's. At any single time of the day, you can rely on McDonald's fries. So, and I knew I was going to wind her up by saying this, but if I get Shish Mahal to go, I swing by McDonald's to grab large fries on the way home. And then I dip my fries in the curry sauce and have it with fries and rice and curry. You thought when I told her that I'd kicked her mum in the face. Like, she was so offended. And then every time I go and I get to go, I just take a picture of me starting McDonald's and send it to her. It doesn't, no words, no context, just a photo of my food with McDonald's fries.
So you dip fries in the curry, or you dump the curry on the fries?
You can do both.
Okay.
But I just prefer to kind of dip it in it, but if you do both, it's
a curry. I'm not opposed to this idea. I'm excited to try it.
A curry half and half is that it's half fries, half rice. So that's a UK thing because we want to put fries with everything, which would seem like an American thing.
I'm going to turn the tables on you. Best French fries in town.
French fries.
You can't say McDonald's. I'm sorry.
Tucker's is really good. I like Tucker's.
Are you a hand cut fry person?
So I grew up right. My mum was a trained chef back home, and I grew up, and my mum or dad, whoever was cooking, would grab potatoes and make them by hand, right? So they were usually fat ones, right? Fat chips. You don't really get fat chips here anymore, other than sometimes I think at Texas Roadhouse does fat fries, if you want to call them that. We call them chips in the UK. That's not a bag of chips; it's fries for chips. The other place that is really good, Johnny's has good fries too, right? Have you had fries at Johnny's?
You can't choose the fries over the onion rings at Johnny's, though.
I'm not a huge onion rings fan.
What?
Yeah, I struggle to find places. Onion rings I'm very kind of selective with where I get onion rings from.
You know, the best place to get onion rings is a fancy, expensive steakhouse.
Okay. Because for me, when
I don't like the batter to just kind of like separate from the onion and it to be over too big. Right?
Okay.
I like the onion rings that kind of look like calamari.
Okay, so you're not gonna like any of the steakhouse onion rings I just told you to order.
Probably
Usually they come in like a crazy stack.
Yeah.
And you get 6 of them because they're enormous.
Right.
You can wear them as a bracelet.
Yeah, I don't.
Okay.
I'm thinking of something, changing the subject. Favorite breakfast place? We didn't talk about that.
No, I gotta tell you my answers for the favorite fries though.
Okay, sorry.
Sushi Nico fries.
Haven't had Sushi Nico fries.
Write it down. And everyone knows about it.
Okay.
Nico fries. You can't go wrong. And then on the other side of that, Burger Punks. Crinkle cut fries with their liquid gold cheese sauce.
I haven't had that either. Shout out to Rachel for crushing it with another concept.
Have you had their chicken sandwich?
No.
Their fried chicken sandwich is bigger than your head.
So it's like a
this big.
chicken fried steak and with bread on it.
No, it's chicken fried chicken.
Chicken fried
with
chicken,
bread on it.
but size-wise,
But it's
like,
huge.
yeah.
And it's so good.
God, again, I'm so hungry. We could talk food forever.
Breakfast place.
Yeah.
If I want to wait, or we're taking like out of town guests and I can get on the wait list, Cafe Cacao. Yeah. The trick is honestly to eat breakfast there on a weekday.
I was there on Wednesday.
But so Valona and I
there was nobody there.
tried to go to lunch there on a Friday. We showed up at 11 o'clock and there was a 30 to 40 minute wait.
Yeah.
And I was like, if we would have been 30 minutes earlier, it would have been fine.
Yeah.
I also love the breakfast at Cafe Evoke in Edmond. And then our go-to on any given weekend, if we can get in, we usually can sneak in a seat at the bar, is Neighborhood Jam.
Yes. Are you a traditional breakfast lover or like a pancake kind of like I want sweet stuff?
Always savory, and I actually don't really like breakfast at all.
Okay.
So I'm ordering more of like the lunch hybrid type stuff.
Which is very easy at Cacao.
Yeah.
Yeah. The tikal is what I get at Cacao. It's so good.
Crispy mozzolino or pupusas with the vaca frita on top is so good.
And again, they do great social media too. I mean, it definitely entice you. I haven't. Their drinks, their coffee's great.
Well, it helps when your food is beautiful.
That does help. Their pancakes that they post with all the syrup on it and the fruit and somebody could print.
I have
a
story about Cafe Cacao. My Cheesecake Factory years.
Yeah.
Veronica, but I knew her as Alba, was the salad station chef when I worked at Cheesecake Factory, and I was a server. And so we were always really good friends and talking. And I actually remember the night she leaned over the window towards the end of the night and she goes, "Fee, I have to tell you something." And I was like, "Okay, what's up?" She's like, "I'm opening a restaurant." And I just think back now how crazy that was. And even like her kids, they used to come in all the time and seeing them grown up. And now when we go there, she's amazing.
What a woman. I mean, Luigi has been on a long time ago to tell the story, and it's unbelievable what they've done, right? And yeah, I mean, the food's
They made
fantastic.
Guatemalan breakfast mainstream in OKC.
Yeah.
It's unheard of. It's like what Chef Jeff has done with Modern and Lao cuisine. You know, before that, anyone who even thought they knew Lao food, it was just hidden on a Thai restaurant menu. So
yeah.
Stuff like that is incredible.
Finishing up, just in the instance of time for you, what is stuff for the new year that we should put on the radar for people? Like there's, bartenders that people should, go get a drink from, or chefs or places that they should go. What's kind of like your under the radar? Here's my few things for the people listening to keep an eye out in the new year.
Oh, that's a tough question.
It's okay. We can edit out.
And the thing is, for me, nothing is under the radar.
Yes.
If it's on my radar, I want it to be on your radar too. Okay. So I would say, if you want to know what I'm eating, follow me on my social media. Try to keep it relevant. It's been really busy, so that's why you get like a whole dump of posts on a Saturday morning or a Thursday night at 11 p.m. But I would say just follow me there. But I think the biggest thing, and we talked about this kind of before we started recording, was we are so lucky for what we have here in Oklahoma City as far as bars, restaurants, coffee shops, breweries, all of it. And if there's a place you love, a business you love, a favorite dish, a favorite cocktail, favorite coffee, whatever it is, support them.
Yeah.
And make sure you're intentional. Don't be on autopilot and just go to that restaurant or bar around the corner because it's right by your house and the Uber is cheaper. Like, be intentional. Tell your friends, tell your family, post a picture of it, of whatever you're eating if it's extra delicious. And be their biggest fans, because that's the only way we're going to ensure that we continue to have this luxury of options.
Yeah. You mentioned breweries. We haven't talked about that yet. Favorite brewery?
Favorite brewery? I think the prettiest brewery is Vanessa House, hands down. Their space is gorgeous. My favorite beer to drink is Prairie.
Okay.
I'm weird. I like sours and stouts, and they do it best, both of them.
Yeah. I want to say, I'm scrolling through your Instagram. Final thing let's talk about is you were part of you did a little thing with the Thunder. How was that? Didn't you? I'm looking at your Instagram post. There was a Thunder stuff. Tell me about that.
Yeah.
How has that been for someone who works in downtown? Obviously, the vote passed, the team stuff, all that big kind of buzz, and how also the Thunder do such a great job of being a part of the community as well. Kind of tie in, like your job for downtown, your job for what, not quote in quotes, blog job, because it is a job, because it's it takes a lot of time. Even though you love doing it, it doesn't feel like a job, but time-wise it is. Downtown, Take a Bite, Thunder. What's it like to be involved in, the Thunder stuff as well?
So, the thing about all of that, whether it's me and Take a Bite, downtown, and the Thunder, it's all about community. And the Thunder is so much more than basketball. Yes, I go to the basketball games, but I go there to socialize and hang out. Don't ask me the score usually. I can usually tell you if we won or lost, but the Thunder is critical for everything that's happening, and we're so lucky from a nonprofit perspective. So many nonprofits rely on the Thunder's partnerships throughout the year to meet their bottom line and to enhance their programming and to power their mission. So for me, I have great relationships with the Thunder through work, and then personally, so any chance to partner with them I'm happy to do it. And I'm thrilled about how the vote went and the fact that we are setting ourselves up for success in the future and to keep the momentum going.
Yeah, it's critical, I think, and a lot of people weren't happy with the deal or whatever it was structured. I saw some no's, and it was 70-30 roughly that it passed. But long term, who are we without the Thunder, right? Like, it's very hard to find an identity, and I don't want to get a hockey team because I hate hockey, right? Like, and we're never going to get an NFL team because college football's king.
Yeah,
here.
I think the Thunder has become a huge part of Oklahoma City's identity, and it's a piece of our identity that we want to keep, and we can do that by continuing to support them. But I think time and time again, what we've seen and what's really special about Oklahoma City is it's a community that chooses to invest in itself. And I think the results of that vote shows that.
Yeah, 100%. Fee, it's been an absolute pleasure. I'm glad we finally got to do this. We need to do this at least once a year because every restaurant's changing and there's new things coming and going. The one thing I can take away from this is just your love for community, and the food and drink is centered around that. It's not just about food, it's about what food does in the vehicle that it is. And so I can definitely see that in the way that you talk, and the way that you foster community and people through your Instagram page is obviously very, very obvious. So thank you for spending an hour of your time to come share some awesome stories and to point out to people listening some great places for food. And for people listening, go follow Fee at Take a Bite OK on Instagram and start ticking off the list of the places she's been to, because you won't regret it.
The list you can't eat fast enough. The list just gets longer and longer, and that's how lucky we are. And thanks for having me on. Always happy to talk about food. And now that we've got some of this history down, I hope the next time we can dive right into food and really blow people's minds with what they're missing out on.
That's one thing I told, I forget his name, guy from Edible, Stuart from Edible. I told Stuart from Edible, I said, for 2024, I want to do more food content because it's something I don't do enough of. So I am down to do more food content. So anyway, for people listening, I hope you're really hungry and you should go spend some of your dollars locally. Go to Fee's Instagram, find some of those local spots, and you will not regret it. But thank you so much for listening, and we will catch you in the next episode. Cheers.
Hope you guys enjoyed that great episode. Thank you so much for listening. As always, huge shout out to our sponsors, the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, sharing Oklahoma story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com and follow them on Instagram for daily updates at OklahomaHOF. Our other sponsor, the Chickasaw Nation, amazing sponsor. They do amazing things for the state, and they're always sponsoring something in Oklahoma. They're a huge supporter of Oklahoma, and without their support, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. And our third sponsor is Diffie Ford Lincoln down in El Reno. Now, this one makes me so happy because these guys are great friends of mine, play a lot of golf together. I've bought my cars from them, do most of my oil changes down there, have a cup of coffee, hang out down in El Reno. It's a good spot to go. And not only are they great friends, but they provide a great service. So for over 60 years, third generation family owned Oklahoma business down in El Reno. They're also in Bethany as well. So people in the Bethany area know the Diffies really well. But if you're looking for anything new, used, Ford, Lincoln, or whatever, I'm sure they could find anything you want. Check them out, diffieford.net, and then on Instagram at diffiefordlincoln.
This episode is presented by Citizens Bank of Edmond. Citizens Bank of Edmond has been serving Edmond since 1901. They pride themselves on investing in the community and are here for all your personal and business banking needs. For more information, go to mycitizens.bank and follow them on Instagram at citizensedmond, as well as go bank there, because I bank there too. It's been a fantastic personal experience for me. I've had my podcast account there now, my podcast business account there now for 4 years now, I think, and it's been fantastic. So definitely worth your time. They're a great group of people, and they're always there to answer the phone when I forget my password, because I seem to forget it daily. So yeah, go to Citizens Edmond and check them out. It's been awesome.
Thank you for listening. We are inspired by those around us and hope that you are too. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review so we can keep telling your stories. For more great Oklahoma content, follow This Is Oklahoma on Facebook and Instagram.